Yesterday, Sony San Diego decided to put out the longest franchise / March to October stream they've ever put out, and I believe it is absolutely worth the watch. But again, it's 2 hours long, so let me just summarize everything. Everything you hear in this has to do with both franchise and March to October. They were not separate segments. They're married at this point. In said marriage, there are three big things: the amateur scouting system, the draft day experience, and the amateur signing system. But before we get into that, I'm going to touch on all the probably more minor things or the gripes that some people may have had in the community, including myself. Universal DH and a new postseason, both of which they're mandatory to have in the game. Let's be honest. Anybody that thought otherwise, you're a fool. Now, the reason why they didn't have either of these two things plus the Ohtani rule, the CBA pretty much was agreed to a week before the game came out. I understood that. A lot of fools on the Show Nation, Operation Sports, Twitter, YouTube comments, y'all might not have understood, but some people are a rabid bunch. A lot of people were under the impression that, oh, SDS is lazy for not putting this into the game. How could they not think of this? Honestly, I played a small part in that too. But it's completely understandable. This is old code. It's 17. Now, hell, it's an adult now. It's now 18 years old at this point. You kind of got to dig through code to really fix or really change anything, and that affects a lot. What that affected had to do with the new trade logic. The logic for the trade deadline, because more teams are going to be in contention or, in the running for the postseason and even a wild card. You'll probably see more movement. There's a new logic for tiebreakers. Basically, there's no game 163 anymore, which, while it makes for great content, it muddies the water. It's like, come on. If a team has been busting your ass the whole season, and you got to play a 163 because you just happen to make it, it's a little ridiculous. Also, there was new logic for the minor leagues. Honestly, a lot of that logic for the minor leagues had to do with balancing guys' overalls and potentials. You're probably not going to see guys that are 75, 80 overall that are still prospects, that are still sitting down there. Teams are going to call them up. And I would hope if they're not going to call them up, they might trade them. You never know. Also, more under the hood stuff. There was AAA realignment. Minor league affiliations have changed some. I've yet to actually see what that is. And the league names in said minor leagues have also changed. Probably stuff most people are just gonna skip right over and don't care about. As for stuff that focuses more on the actual major league franchise itself, the 26-man roster is an updated competitive balance tax. Let's be honest. The Padres and the Mets have spent probably more money than some countries make in GDP in a year. There's an updated minimum salaries. Now you're not gonna be able to offer guys, $100,000 if they've spent some time on your 40-man roster. They're going to ask for the minimum salary, which, if I remember correctly, is around $700,000 to $750,000. There's the updated MLB draft in the sense that it is now moved from being in June to All-Star Week. So expect when I do whatever team I choose to do, it's probably going to be a little long doozy, and I won't have to forcibly put the draft in July where it's supposed to be. Also, the schedule is now balanced as agreed to in the CBA. You're going to play everybody. I like it. I know people that are older than me. I'm 32, and it won't be too long after this video gets put out and I'll be 33. There are people who are older than me who hate the idea of, we don't want interleague. Well, guess what? We already got Universal DH. The interleague has been happening for well over almost 25 years now. I don't know how baseball decided that was just a good idea for so long. I mean, I get the difference in rules, but now there's no difference in rules. So everybody's playing under the same on the same field, the same everything. Pitchers are not hitting unless your name is Shohei Ohtani or Madison Bumgarner gets the occasional plate appearance or something like that. It is what it is. We moving on to the future. Either come along kicking and screaming, or you're gonna end up on the side of the road in a ditch. Anyway, also what they updated was draft lottery. Something that honestly I think really got swept under the rug. Around the winter meetings, now there will be a draft lottery. So for teams that did not make the postseason, and basically all teams that do not make the postseason are eligible to be in the draft lottery. Around the winter meetings, you'll see it. You'll see what the draft order is for the top, the top teams that don't make the postseason. So it's 12 teams make the postseason. I'm probably dead wrong. No, 12 teams make the postseason. It's 30 in the league, 18 teams. You could be team number 18 and be like, I was this close to making the postseason, and draft guys just bestow upon you, hey, you get the first pick. That sounds good to me. I highly doubt that would be the case for a team that far back, but you never know, man. A continual update that we are going to see for the rest of eternity. Trade metric and player metric. Player metric is player evaluation, not just the overall, but how old the guy is, what their contract is, stuff like that. They're going to be consistent. They're going to be constantly tweaking that over the years. It's pretty much never going to be perfect because even in Major League Baseball, player metric is not equal for everybody, and that makes sense. A player like Nolan Arenado getting traded a couple years ago, he got traded for peanuts. Colorado basically just said bye. You won't be able to eat the contract, I'm sure, but player metric is what it is. They will obviously be continuing to mess with that. Roster tuning. SDS has messed with their algorithm, whatever it is, under the hood to ensure that defense doesn't get weighed too heavily for players. You gotta be honest. You want more offense, right? I know you want to score more. Don't get me wrong. Defense is important in some aspect, but offense is king. Point blank, period. So for positions like catcher, shortstop, and center field, defense is going to take a lesser, I want to say coefficient. Probably went over a lot of people's heads, but if you understand, you understand. It's going to be a lower coefficient. It's going to matter less for a player's overall rating. So Jason Hayward, sorry, your overall is probably going to tank even further than what it already is. You'll probably be like a 67 or something. Also, relief pitchers are going to be toned down, which makes sense. They're kind of a dime a dozen unless you can find a good one. A really good one probably becomes either your long man or your setup dude or maybe even your closer. Otherwise, they're taking a step back, probably 2 or 3, which makes sense. Market sizes. They mentioned it. They said San Diego. Obviously, they've been spending, just like the New York Mets, in a completely different market size. I'm going to assume that maybe middle market teams might spend a little more. So maybe Milwaukee might spend a little more, or hell, Pittsburgh might spend some. Yeah, don't get your hopes up. Prospect generation logic is now going to be a more parsed out matrix. So you'll have high school players, or before they had high school players and college players, and that was it. So one was one was the other. Now it's individually parsed out. High school seniors, you got JUCOs, guys in 1 and 2, you got guys who are 4-year freshmen, sophomores, senior, juniors, and some of those 21-year-old juniors might be undrafted players, things like that, where now you're not just looking at positional rank. You're looking, well, I didn't jump the gun already. Oh, what the hell? I already said too much at this point. If a guy goes undrafted and they are not a 21-year-old, either sophomore or junior, I'm mad I don't have the details correct at this point. They will enter back into the draft and you can follow them in future years. So say that 18-year-old prospect as a senior It's pretty low overall. Nobody wanted him. Nobody really scouted him like that. You're not going to see them in the free agent pool in the offseason. You're going to see them in the subsequent year as a draftee. And probably because you will already have some information on him, you'll have a head start on that guy. So you can really chip away and see what that player really is. Once it comes time to draft them, if they're good enough, I'm sure you will take them. And on top of that, I'm going to touch on scouting and what they call diamond in the rough and bust logic, which makes sense. I think it's been about either a decade or hell, we might not even have had this at all. But now there is the possibility of finding guys late in the draft or even drafting guys early in the draft who are either busts or diamonds in the rough. So opposite ends of the spectrum. You could be a quote unquote terrible player and become a beast, or you could be considered a beast and be kind of for most of your career, if not all of your career. Some of the things that affect that, something they called one military term, which I'm not going to say because I ain't trying to offend nobody like that. Call it injury logic because that's what it is. The other term is touchy and I'm not doing that. Injury logic. So you can go into scouting a player and they have the option of either doing the actual physical with the doctor. They can turn around and say, nah, I don't even want to do this. Which if a player does end up opting into the physical exam, they are guaranteed 75% of the slot value. You may be wondering what the hell is slot value. I'm going to get to that, I promise. Do expect the draft class to be overwhelmingly young. 18, 19-year-old players. As they've said in the past, they weren't able to get it right. Now it's good. I don't have to put out another video on how to basically manipulate player ages throughout the league, which is good because, that wasn't even a hard video. Draft class prospects will now range between 18 and 23, and it'll lean much closer to 18 than 23. I think 23 might be a little too much, but it's understandable. Maybe a guy had a fifth year in college or something. I don't know. That is honestly a great thing. That means that leaves guys who were previously 25 years old, 23, 24, 22, 23, 24, 25 years old, and they were a potential. They have a chance to actually have a career, even if it's in like their late 20s. Because as I've stated many times, most guys get their call up around 27. When you look at the list of players who get called up, they are between 27 and 31. Obviously, there are going to be players who are younger than that. There may rarely be a player that is older than that, decided to just keep playing minor league baseball. Maybe they had a pretty damn good signing bonus or something like that, and they just said, I just want to keep playing baseball. Their wife or whoever they're with might have just said, hey, all right, go ahead, do your thing, honey. Now on the scouting screen, fortunately, we are moving away from guys being, I guess, specialists in specific regions, which is fine. We are also losing a scout. But with that, we are also understanding how good a scout is based off their years of experience, and a lot of the same things they use to measure that are the same. Efficiency, pitchers, position players, and discovery. Efficiency being how fast can that scout said player. Discovery is their ability to open up their scope to find new players in the draft pool, or in at least your scouting pool. Also, as you can see from the salaries, guys are making much more realistic numbers, which makes a hell of a lot of sense, because if none of these scouts are making anywhere near $2 million, $3 million, I'd be like, listen, if you're doing that much, bro, we're going to need you to do a little bit more. Now have a scouting budget, which I think we've always had, but it wasn't clear what it was. So you could think you've got enough to sign somebody, and unless you really looked up in that upper right-hand corner, which I'm not pointing at it properly, then you kind of just, try to go sign a better scout, which I hope they do a better job of telling us, hey, this scout retired not in April when I'm going to actually go scout. No, you need to tell me way sooner than that so I can at least look at the other guys on the list who are available. Scouting is now a 14-week process, which makes sense because it goes from the beginning of the regular season all the way to right before the draft. You can set what your priorities are in 3 different places, either gold, silver, or bronze. The upper left-hand corner, you see both the bonus allotment, which is based on where you are slated to draft and what those slot values are, plus 5%. When you put a scout in one of those, I don't know, elemental positions, I'm gonna call it that, either gold, silver, or bronze, you can then assign them to what you would like them to do. Obviously, like you were able to do before, except, well, it's on a weekly basis and not you gotta wait for the notification to come up and hope for the best and forget and be like, damn, I just missed like 2 days of scouting. You know, and you have anxiety and whatnot. Obviously, the strategy is going to be, you know, put guys in a position to succeed. So if you happen to have a terrible scout or a meh scout, maybe you just want him out there, just do what you can, find some guys, and I'll let the other guys figure things out, as opposed to, as you can see, you've got Gene Pappas, who is very good with position players and has spectacular efficiency, which you will later see is definitely going to be an advantage because you get a much more accurate, well, not accurate, you get a faster scouting report on a player when you need to. Lou Flores, on the other hand, he pretty much can, you know, he can go look at pictures, he can look at position players. So again, you really want to put guys in a position that they can do their best job. Maybe that might be just scouting a position. Maybe that might be finding new guys. Maybe that might be pinpointing on an individual prospect so that you can get at least some idea of what the range of their skills are. Once you're done, well, once you have given your scout their assignment, then they're considered busy. You don't have to touch them for a week. As a matter of fact, they've even set it up to the point where Sundays are the days that you would do these things. I'm sure there are a lot of people who go to church on Sunday and be like, listen, man, can we do this another day? My bonus allotment has to do with how much, again, the slot positions are. They're already set by Major League Baseball, plus 5%. If you set everything to auto, the game is going to default to positional needs and positional rankings. By default, positional needs will always be the bottom 3 ranked positions on your team. I'm not sure how they calculate that. I will figure that out once the game comes out, but I'd like to think it's probably just overall at this point. Once you actually jump into, you know, putting guys in a priority where you would like them, you end up with this screen here. All right, you can see who they are, what position they play. You are pretty much going to have nothing at first. The numbers you see there for potential and overall have very wide ranges. 80 to 99 is like 20 points. You know, the overall is basically 20 points. But the thing is, with 18-year-olds, you're gonna know a lot less. That range could be even wider than 20. It could be 40 points, 50 points, it could be 54 to 99. You'll have no idea. And the better your scout is, the more likely they are to know more about them because they've spent time with them and things of that nature. Whereas a four-year senior, unlike Andres Moya, you'll have a much better idea of what it is. And they said, for the most part, it will almost never be within single-digit ranges. I don't think they noticed that later on, actually in a draft, one of the players they were looking at, his was like within 5. It was, and I mean his potential, it was like 93 to 99 potential. They didn't draft him. The guy was like a freaking god body pitcher, promise you. The draft ranking is set by Major League Baseball, so the game itself. Top 200 prospects set in that. When you discover more players, those players will tend to be unranked by Major League Baseball. It may not, but you will have some rank on them. So you might, again, that's how you might be finding diamonds in the rough. Secondary positions come about once you've scouted them enough. We don't know what level that is yet. They didn't show that because they skipped a huge amount of weeks. But as far as the draft board is concerned, in the beginning of the year, it'll be 1-to-1. So as you see with Moya, draft rank 1, and draft rank 1 for the league, draft rank 1 for you because you're looking at it. And then it'll just go on from there. As your scouts do their thing, your team draft rank will change. The league one will not. Other teams will have differing ranks. They showed it in 30-team control. Under this Moya, they had guys that ranged anywhere from, they had them at either 1 somewhere to like 10, which is great. That doesn't mean that he's like the 10th best player. He could be the 50th best player. You have no idea. Your scouts did their scouting on him, I'm going to say, differently than another team. Maybe I caught him on a different day. Who knows? Kind of speculating there. When you actually jump into the player card, there's a lot of numbers and colors and such. Again, you will see draft rank for both the league and you. You'll see the range in potential. You'll see a range in overall. A lot of the same things you've seen. Scouting progress will change based on where you put them in that. You'll see where you put them in the individual priorities. So if it's a gold, and your man has like your scout has like a 98 efficiency. Boom, you put him in gold. His scouting progress is 100. That still doesn't mean that you know exactly how good this player is. You're not going to find out until you have actually signed them, and that's a ways away. Bonus demand, as they explained it, had to do with guys either want to be drafted high, for the prestige, or drafted high for the money. Maybe they don't care about it. Maybe they don't care. You might be able to get a deal one way or another. Signing motivation is based on that. Interest is based on how much attention you give them. Let's be honest. Again, attributes the range starts to close in claustrophobically. Not too claustrophobically. You can still breathe. You can still run in and out. Doctor exam, as stated earlier, guys will either be healthy, they'll have an injury, and injuries can affect their ratings, which makes sense. If a guy is, constantly hurt on a regular basis, and you end up in a situation where they're pretty much not going to reach their potential, maybe that might not be a problem. Maybe they could still be a serviceable player for you. It's going to be limited to what your greatest availability is being there. But your greatest ability is availability. There we go. Wow. And you're able to slot guys in different places, discover new prospects. You get 4 new discovered players a week. Guys with high discovery, you want them doing that. If you feel like you are a team that doesn't have a ton of needs, maybe you don't need to have discovering new prospects as your number 1 priority. That could be number 3. Say a team like the Dodgers, they have a ton of prospects. A team like the Rays, they have a ton of prospects. They don't need to look at all of the, massive amounts of prospects. They may want to pinpoint on guys like, hey, this guy might fit what we want. Spend some time there. Boom. If you like it, cool. If not, or whatever, move on to somebody else. And because we have more time, we have more players that we can scout. According to the devs, they have stated that you could probably scout probably beyond about 40 players. You can have 40 players, probably 100% scouted by the time you get to the draft. That is way more than what we were getting before. Before we were getting somewhere around 15, 16, and the only ones we knew exactly how good they were were really just the blue chip prospects. Now there's none of that. What MLB ranks them is what they rank them, and how we will handle that really depends on your scouts and you. You're picking them, or maybe you're not. Maybe you want to go on a challenge where you say, yo, I'm gonna let the scouts do their thing. I'm gonna let the GM do his thing. I'm just gonna manage the team. Maybe you're assistant GM. They don't want you making that call. I don't know, role play, figure it out. You can set all of this to auto if you feel like it's too difficult. I really like this because now I'm actually thinking. I'm not just going out there and put them on auto. Hell, I put out a video that I wanted to see which was better, whether manual scouting or auto scouting, and to be honest, not much really changed. You could auto scout and then ignore them and it's not going to hurt much. Now I kind of got to trust my scouts more. I got to be able to really hone in on, like, all right, what might they be looking at that we can't see? Now, I know this probably brings up the question of, yo, if you want to just see them, why is there not a scouting combine? They have openly said that they didn't have enough time to get it in, and given the amount of detail that they have put into scouting and the draft, I'm gonna cut them slack. Granted, I'm probably gonna cut them slack anyway. They've already stated that dev cycles are about 8 months. The first couple, I don't know how that is broken down, but it's 8 months. And being that this is old code that goes back to the mid 2000s, and we are almost in the mid 2020s, the people that are expecting, I don't really know what at this point. I mean, I have my wants for franchise mode and what more I want to see. This is a significant step in the right direction. Is it that huge? I mean, listen, in Major League Baseball, the draft is only as valuable as how many guys you get to come up. You're gonna end up with a lot of fodder. It happens. You might end up with some guys who are just serviceable, but because this is now more in line with real MLB baseball, we don't have to. I'm sorry, I got cat hair. Yeah, now that it's more in line with Major League Baseball, now we're not dealing with 23, 24, 25-year-old players. Everybody's on the same playing field, 18 to 22. The CPU could be drafting like crazy, which you'll see in one of the draft classes. Good Lord, I need to cat here. Jeez, about to poke my eyeball out. The AI may be looking at players and they might be busting your chops. They might be a rebuilding team. And they're just like, listen, we gonna get all these hot boy players. We gonna build them up for a couple years, and then we just gonna launch it on you. Take a team like the Baltimore Orioles. They've got prospects. They're pretty good prospects. Maybe that's could be why they're not spending in free agency. Say you're 3, 4, 5 years down. Maybe not 3. I'm gonna say 3 years. Say you're 3 years down the line and you are playing as the Yankees, and the Orioles have had a good prospect system, but you've been playing like George Steinbrenner has basically been running the team. You've been spending money like crazy, and you trading your prospects to get all the hot boy players. You might not have won a ring because, well, you playing with injuries on, and things happen. I don't know. Maybe you stink at the game. I mean, you can't be as bad as me, but say you're doing that, and Orioles are now looking like a bunch of beasts, a bunch of young beasts, and now you're just like, damn. I got all these old heads back here. Aaron Judge done turned 34. He ain't living up nowhere near to that contract. You still got 5 more years left on that. And Carlos Stanton is still there because you decided, listen, I want him to stay in pinstripes. Understandable. Yeah. Anthony Rizzo somehow is cranking out the same numbers he puts out every year, but he's like 38 at this point. Like, what are we doing? You traded away your prospects, Dominguez, Volpe, Sweeney. You didn't trade it damn near everybody. You just listen, I'm going to spend money and I'm going to get a ring because that's the way you want to play it. The Orioles out here spending ARB money and renewal money on, prospects they're calling up. They're out here raking. Adley Rutschman is, becoming Adley Rutschman. Probably future MVP at catcher. He might be occasionally signing a free agent here and there. And they're on the heels of your ass. Nothing you can do about it. You over CBT. which again, they've updated. You're over CBT, like over enough that teams are just like, nah, we're going to let the evil Empire and that Death Star just boom, done. Just saying. When it comes to prospects, you can move them in priority from gold, silver, bronze. And you might need to do that. Maybe you've scouted a guy enough and you're like, all right, there's no point in continuing to put him in such a high priority. You can remove him from the board, put somebody else up there, move on, boom, bing, bang, boom. You can, again, set... oh, by the way, you have to finalize your weekly scouting plan, which, again, it doesn't seem like a lot, but I like it, because now scouting and drafting is more... Well, scouting really is more interactive. If you set things to manual, the game will notify you every week or so to do what you need to do to set assignments. If you don't want to keep seeing that pop up every 3 games or 3 days, then you just set it to auto and be done with it. You'll get to the draft and you'll do what you got to do. Once you have scouted a guy, from what we can see at 100%, you get to know how much their interest is. I'm pretty sure you won't have to get to 100% to know what their interest is or to get a better idea what their overall potential is. I'm pretty sure once you get to maybe 65%, probably more like 70%, 75%, you get an idea of these things. You get to know what their bonus demand is. Vizcaino is asking for $7.6 million. Your bonus allotment is 9.49. He had better be damn good or you have blown money. Also, pretty much once you've gotten to 100%, I will figure out once I get the game what level you actually need to get to a guy before you know a lot more of the things, the doctor exam thing. Actually, the doctor exam more has to do with the player opting in or not. You will find out by June, really right around when the old draft was. So right around June, you will find out whether a player is opting in. If they're opting into it and they're staying in the draft, they can just be like, I don't want to do the physical, but I still want to be drafted. You can expect probably 18, 19-year-old players to just be like, I'm going to opt out. Could be a beast. You never know. You'll be able to follow them in future years as they probably play college or JUCO. You can set your draft board so that when it comes to the draft, you're going to have to look at draft rank and your draft rank and really how you feel about a player, because when you get into said draft, you may have to play that game. You may have to sit there and be like, damn, I only got this much bonus allotment money to play with. And this player is really good, but I can't draft them. You might have to draft somebody lower down the board. You might want to be cheap and only get guys who either have no bonus demand or have very little bonus demand. Like, we playing chess in here. We not playing checkers no more. Hell, we ain't playing. Sorry, we're playing freaking chess. We're not playing tic-tac-toe. We were playing tic-tac-toe for 17 years. That is not the case now. Once you actually get into the draft, it's really 3 things that are important. One, when it comes to the AI drafting, they have 10 seconds to pick. Which, honestly, they're the AI. Come on. It's not like they just pick. I don't even know how the hell they figured it out before. But that's how they did it before. Was oh, now it's your pick. Untimed. Nope. There's a time for the user now. The user now has 4 minutes. You have 4 minutes to pick your player. You also can't pause it, which, honestly, I like. I like it because, well, unlike me, who likes ham and ha, damn, who am I pick? Kind of gotta look. I didn't see a player comparison screen, but I think with the ranges of numbers, the ranges of numbers and the colors that are there, hopefully they have like a colorblind mode or something like that. I think MLB The Show's been pretty good about that. You can now see the numbers and be like, all right, this guy's got this and this guy's got this and this, and I'm gonna take this one. When it comes to the first three picks in the draft, they're gonna basically get the same treatment that Road to the Show got, that the diamond animation pack opening thingamajig, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm gonna play Diamond Dynasty, but you'll never see it on this channel. But yeah, only the top 3 players are getting that the pomp and circumstance treatment, getting the fireworks or whatever you want to call it, smoke and mirrors. Once you actually draft a player, you end up, well, first off, in your first draft, you're going to get that trophy. Future of the franchise, blah, 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 moving forward. Then you will later have to sign draft picks. Once the draft is over, you will not be able to immediately sign them. You'll have to wait a little bit. There is a designated period of time between after said draft and the signing deadline, which is August 1st. It'll usually be 21 days. So 21 days from the 31st. It's like July 10th. July 10th or so. That might move a little bit here or there. It really seems in line with the trade deadline, which I find very interesting. You're going to have to do some, like, wow, I don't even know how current day GMs are going to pull that off, let alone somebody at MLB The Show. Granted, the real GMs are getting paid crazy money, and we're being paid in stubs. They give you access to the signing big board every 3 days. So, you offer a guy a contract, they either take it or you don't. And if they don't, then you gotta wait for some of that interest to build back up, which makes sense. You don't want to be sitting there. It's not going to be press X, 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 X over and over, and a guy will just take whatever the hell you give him. No, based off interest. They stated once you get above 50%, you may have some wiggle room as to how much you can actually offer a guy. And the lower, you have your bonus allotment, you have interest. As you can see on this one, all the way to the right is probably about as much as you're going to be able to pay that guy. The suggested slot value is what it is. That does not change based on where you draft him. So I'm going to assume every year in the first round, 4th pick is going to be $7 million. If they have higher interest, you can pay them less. So patience might be a virtue in saving you some money in ensuring that your entire draft class comes in the next year all in one piece. Whereas if you don't have that much bonus allotment, you're going to have to pick and choose. Maybe you really just want to sign this one player and, this guy looks good, but I don't know. And as you move from plus to minus, interest will go down. It'll move down based, you paying a guy less money, of course they might not want to be there. As you can see in the middle, it's at 55%, and as you get to the minus side, it's 52%. So you're just skating on the edge of this guy just being like, I'll wait to sign with you. Wait 3 days, wait 6 days. Again, with it being every 3 days and you're 21 days to sign, you have 7 opportunities to do this. I am not sure what happens after that. I'm gonna mess with it and figure it out. Maybe I think they just go into the free agent pool if they're a 4-year junior. I think if they're a 4-year junior, 4-year senior, 21 years old or older, then yeah, they just go to the free agent pool, which, I don't know, maybe they just don't sign with you then either. As you can see, Luis Caino has decided to sign with the Rangers. And that means now you can move on to the other draftees or guys that you have drafted and figure out how much you're gonna pay them then. By the way, the longer they really listen, you are not gonna find out what their ratings or any of that stuff is until you have signed them and the signing period is over. So the longer you let them sit, the more you will know, the more they will the more their interest will be in signing. So it's kind of you may have to play the role of, I'm just gonna wait, gotta really figure out where these guys are, and if I don't want them, I might not sign them. Perfectly understandable. The more you make a guy priority, so if they're silver or gold, then they gain more interest and you get more information. So patience is a virtue in this. Once you basically once you basically run out of money, then you're kind of screwed. As you can see, Henry Sargent, you could offer him more. His slot value is $406,000. You don't have much wiggle room. That's not much wiggle room. That's like maybe 500. No, that's like maybe 400K. So you can offer him this. The interest is high enough to where he might take it. And as you can see, it is declined. So you're going to have to wait. And again, the more the interest is, the less you can pay them. Sounds so garbage. I'm just happy for you to sign me. I'm so happy for you to sign me. You can pay me in freaking Swiss cheese. Yeah, because there's gonna be a hole in not only in your cheese, but yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be in your cheese. It's gonna be in your bank account too. So yeah, once you've actually drafted them, once you've actually signed them, you get to see what their scouted potential is, which again is still a range. You get to know. Oh no, it says it. All right, scouted potential, actual potential. So that is basically a way for you to judge your own scouts. You get to find out their real overall. By the way, the potentials can be lower than what the scouts have actually put out there. If you take a look, one of these players here, Dana McGrath, the one I have highlighted, his actual potential was a 70. His scouted potential was 73 to 88. That is a huge range. That's a player anywhere from being, you might have a long career as a backup to a guy who probably might, get him a couple all-stars. Just a couple all-stars, have him some good years. That's a huge range. At an actual potential of 70, this guy might have a hard time making it. And he's 21 years old. He might have a hard time making it to the show. Especially considering his only real calling card is speed and stealing, and this is not the 80s. I would like to have him, but you really need to do something else. Like, I want you to get on the base paths, but I need you to hit, usually. He probably isn't the kind of player that is going to take a walk. It is what it is. Same thing here with Grover Shabazian. That is a new last name. They've stated that some of the last names they're starting to come back on some of them. This guy's potential is a lot lower than his scouted potential. 84 to 71. That is, again, pretty wide range. That's a guy who is probably never getting out of the minors. I do like his K per 9, but he's just a guy. He might be a long reliever. He might be an injury call-up if he happens to be in AAA. I'm calling this a very good update. This is significantly more than they have done in about, I want to say, a decade. They haven't really been doing the streams for that long. It's been about 7 or 8 years. I think they started them in MLB 15. Again, this is great. I would like more too, but I think some of y'all need to tone it down. If you like anything I put out on this channel, please click on the sub button and all that good stuff. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.